Welcome to the Spinfoil Theory Podcast. Each week we sit down and discuss our favorite lore topics from within the Destiny universe. Specifically, we intend to take a close look at a specific question that has been nagging us and potentially the Destiny community as a whole. To fulfill that, our discussions tend to assume that you already have some background in the Destiny lore. Despite that, our goal is to be as lighthearted and welcoming to everyone as possible. With that out of the way, let's dive into this week's topic. I'm just gonna do this.
Well, no, it's for my recording. it's yeah. Starting it over.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you
No, I was just I made a thing for this one specifically so we can make notes there directly and refer to them.
You maniac, Bagels.
I'm a maniac on the floor.
Are you dancing like you've never danced before? Because I imagine that might be a very bad dance because you have no reference. You've never even tried.
I'm like Elaine. Yeah.
Oh, with the ugly hippie like witchy woman dance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's a weird reference. I don't know. I'm far too young for that. Isn't that right, fellow kids?
Yes. I was one hip and with it, but then they changed what it was.
And now what you're hip with isn't it? And now what it is strange and scary to you? Yeah, I don't get that reference either.
No. That reference is almost older than me.
Oh.
I guess the Seinfeld one is...
No, we were alive for that, and we probably saw it subsequently from its, original air date.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we're giving everyone too much information as to how old we actually are.
Right?
That's going to lose us street cred. Let's move on. So, hi everyone.
I love it.
Welcome to this week's show. I'm your host, Taylor B. This is your other host, TheBagelz.
Howdy.
That's right. How do? Welcome to this week's episode. It has been fucking crazy. Thank you for bearing with us this week as we waited a little bit to pump this out to you. We have a day oneer in the chat. His name's TheBagelz. Yeah, man. We ran in with a team over on PlayStation, and we struggled. We did not make it in the day one, but it was a lot of fun. It was a great learning experience, and I had a lot of fun playing with everyone. But yeah, holy shit! Congrats to you guys. You guys went 16 hours?
Yeah, it was 16:38. I think was our final time per raid report. So yeah, started at noon my time and got done at 5:30 ish.
Yeah.
It was a little rough there at times, especially at tracks and spoiler alert, Taniks.
Yo, I am so hyped for Taniks. Can we, Bagels? I hate to call you in for extra duties, but Scribe, can we add Taniks had access to this for quite some time?
Access
to the theory list? Yeah, to the Deepstone Crypt.
Sure.
No, because I mean, not to spoil that episode, but remember that signal that was sent back at the end of his deaths in the cards in D1? I think this is where it was going to. I don't think Artax put him there. I think he's already been there.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yep. I think he's the reason they know where it is.
I am intrigued by this theory.
Yeah, but we have to save some for later there, Augustus. We can't just dive headfirst into the chocolate river. Which, that reference is before we were born, so I feel comfortable. Before everyone probably listening to this was born, so I feel comfortable making it. And I tell you what, if you were like, nah, man, I saw that shit in theaters, I am so proud that you're our fan. Write us a theory.
Speaking of which, we still need to do not ARFs at some point. We've been so distracted by new content.
Do you want to do... We could do a special blurb for it. Because this is kind of like niche and specific to especially recent releases. So we could do maybe like a 2030 just for that.
Sure. I'm good for that.
All right, so not ARF. That's where your response is coming. Thank you for writing in. And honestly, he was a little ahead of the curve. He connected some dots that hadn't been directly connected.
Lie.
I wanna give credit where credit's due. So good on you. We're going to be visiting that here in the coming days. But yeah, tonight's theory is a fun one. It's one we kind of came up with a little recently, given some recent lore that ties into our recent episodes dealing with Clovis Bray's journal. We've been able to complete that now. Look forward to a part 3 here soon where we review the whole thing. So we only had access to the first half in our previous recordings, and now we've read the whole thing, as is up on Bungie's website, and go read the whole thing. Yeah, if you can. Everything's available online at this point. It's a trip. Go have fun with that, and then here soon we'll be doing our part 3. We might try to do a little collaboration. I'm gonna keep the whisper a little close to the chest here. I'm not gonna say who. But we might have a little collaboratory event going for that part 3, because the whole journal kind of, like, reading the second half kind of changes your perspective on the first half.
Just a little bit.
I mean, except for our opinions on pork. I think, spoiler alert, no matter what you thought about the pork in the first half, you're going to feel the same way by the end.
Hungry?
Yeah, why wait? Let's have the other white meat. But anyway, tonight's theory is that in that journal, to give a quick rundown with just because this is an advanced session podcast, within that journal there is a copy of Maya Sundaresh from the 227 of the Ishtar Collective that got captured by the Vex when they re-entered the Vex network. This copy was tortured and copied into thousands of themselves until one singular Maya Sundaresh murdered all of the others so that they would stop talking.
Did she murder him?
She silenced. She uses the verbiage silences them, but that's how you do it. That's how she did it. I guarantee you that's how she did it. Like, I don't mean to interpret art for everyone, but like that's what they're saying. She murdered all of them.
She's at the very least willing to do the Vex's bidding, and
she gets selected by the Vex to fuck with Clovis Bray, because Clovis Bray has like little microscopic radiolaria like growing out of his bones, infecting his blood, fucking with his head.
I would make the argument that this copy of Maya Sundaresh wasn't specifically selected for Clovis Bray, but instead the Vex selected this copy specifically for the traits that they saw. I
would agree with that.
Yeah, the lore book seems to indicate that she.
I don't think she was cultured. I think it's like a cream, right? She rose to the top.
More or less, yeah. She exhibited certain traits that the Vex were looking for.
Exactly.
Essentially, psychopathy and obedience to the Vex with those traits.
well, it's what is it? I don't know that it's necessarily that she has a loyalty to the Vex. I think that she's smart enough to know what she is, and to realize that just working with him is to get her what she wants, which is her, I don't know, like her psychopathic kicks at this point.
Fair enough.
It's like a weird thing, and I definitely think they like, because the Vex don't choose; they simulate till they get something advantageous, or they figure out the way to get what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's it. But the idea here is this Maya Sundaresh, this Vexy cream, this radiolarian cream that rose to the top, is applied to mess with Clovis. And that's, spoiler alert, that's the Maya Sundaresh that you read about in his journal. That's, and at first you think, in the first half, you think like, maybe he just doesn't get women. And I still think he doesn't get women, but that wasn't what was going on here. It's that she's actually a mentally disturbed simulation of the original. My idea here, though, is this happened back in the Golden Age, and the theory here is that this Maya Sundaresh copy is the MSund12 from the Terminus Strike. At the end of the Terminus Strike, there's a couple different pieces of dialogue you can get at the end, and it's basically your ghost saying that the last thing that was referenced is something called Oxa, and it's either the last reference is by an MSund12 or by an Atzat. Atzat is one of the if you had the collector's edition of Launch of D2, it's one of the it's one of the bounties. It's one of like the people you read about in the booklet about Callus's like court and like enemies thereof. Atzat is a scion who in the strike the flare is, I think, trying to get access to. Oxa, OXA, is basically a probability kiln that, through similar means to the Ishtar Collective or the Future War Cult, by extension thereof, is used by the Cabal to predict the future. Mm-hmm. Atzat was originally anointed by Callus through their efforts of Oxa, the probability kiln, to help his rule, and eventually they had a falling out because at that point Scions were still all enslaved, and Atzat was really upset that freeing all the Scions would really take away their status as a freeborn Scion.
Sure.
Fun piece of side lore there. But anyway, this theory is that this same file of this Terminator, as our friend Edson put it, this Terminator Maya Sundaresh is MSund12. And we're saying that the same, because Oxa obviously didn't work out for the people who used it. It didn't work out for Callus. It didn't work out for Atzat. You would think if Atzat was able to predict the future, they might have figured out that siding with not Callus would not have worked out for them. It's really weird that their psychic friends didn't see that coming. But that's the crux of the theory. It's that the Vex, because both technologies are derived from the Vex, that's the similarity between the Cabal and the Ishtar Collective in this instance, is that the Vex applied this sort of agent of disaster, this Terminator Maya Sundaresh, to the Cabal probability kiln, and that it's the same one that they sent to go after Clovis and almost mess up his dreams, or maybe they did mess up his dreams, because she's still whispering to him his future is Banshee, isn't she?
Very much
at the
so.
end of it, yeah. But with that sort of roundabout explanation, thank you for going on that journey with me, everyone. I'm going to pass this off to my co-host, Mr. Bagelz.
All right.
What do you think, sir?
This is fun. If only for the thought process of the Vex essentially hiring a sleeper agent and sticking her out there wherever they think needs to be addressed. So typical areas where they are having less than usual success. So in the situation where where Clovis is basically harvesting Vex and using them to create exos, they bring in Maya in order to address address that situation there. And then what if they did the same thing in order to try and recover Axa from the Cabal? When we come into that strike right off the bat, we see about, I don't know, 20 Vex just get destroyed by the Scion there at the start. What if Maya was a last-ditch effort by the Vex in order to try and essentially either eliminate the Axa device or to reclaim it for the Vex somehow, or something to that effect? I could definitely see that being the case, where they don't have a typical means to access the device, but they basically send in those Vex as sacrificial lambs to install Maya into a terminal in order to access Axa. So,
I feel like whenever Clovis is involved, they should just be sacrificial pigs.
yeah, right?
That's the new Destiny term. There aren't lambs, they're pigs. Snackrificial pigs.
Yeah, right? But regardless, I don't know how factual this is. This is real out there as far as I'm concerned. As far as like we've got just a loose tie-in here together with it, but it would be a really cool tie together just on the basis that you could basically have adventures of this rogue Maya Sundaresh copy just roaming out there doing her thing until initially she finds her way into affecting Clovis, but finds her way off Europa and essentially is messing with us throughout certain incidents. So, say when our ghost is hacking a terminal for or a conflicts for the Vex, and it's really slow for some reason, and it's just because Maya's there counter hacking or something like that. I could really see something like that where the Vex have issues stopping us because essentially we have paracausal abilities in order to influence our actions, but they're by using somebody who's not essentially directly a Vex origin, maybe they could actually get around some of their limitations and actually more effectively combat what we're doing at certain.
Well, to your point, I think that's really interesting you bring that up because I think that's actually why they would need an agent like MSund12, because as noted in Clovis Bray's journal, like as we'll go into at length, I swear to God, listeners, sorry to bring it up in this order, fans of the show, if you're not familiar and you're relying on us, but as related in that, he talks about what he sort of gleans as to what the origins of the Vex must have been. And it turns out that there's a strong chance they might be the Radiolaria, like contrary to what Ikora and other people might think. Or maybe at this point it's construct and programming beyond the needs of the Radiolaria. Maybe that's what she's going for. But that's another discussion. But it kind of goes to talk about they aren't good or bad. They're like true neutral, and they're curious. So they don't have any moral ambiguity. They have no scruples with experimenting on you in any way possible.
Yeah, they have a singular goal, and that goal is just to essentially expand.
It's to survive.
Yeah,
it's to survive, and it's really interesting if you go into the for anyone who's able to do the Exo challenge this week, survival. The sort of brain training, the language that it uses, like survival is important. You need to survive. Do whatever you can. Like that sort of like, it's like mantras.
It's very similar to what a Vex would. I mean, it's going to find a way to try and.
Well, and I mean, and you're bred from the Vex, right? As an exo.
Sure.
Sorry. But
Sure.
With the Alcahest and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's one thing we need to talk about when we do that, is where did the new Alcahest come from?
To create the Fallen Exos, you mean?
Yeah.
The strike where Aramis steals all the Vex fluid, she applies that to Clarity Control, and that's
how.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that
today.
strike, I was like, "Holy shit! We're going to the Vex portal, and Aramis is going to steal all this. This is awesome."
I learned today. That makes so much sense. Okay, connect those dots for me, Bags. You lore king, you. But anyway. They don't think, they're not creative. They have to they have to run a simulation of you doing everything that you could possibly do to figure you out. They can't surmise anything from that data. They only can use raw data. So having someone like a Maya Sundaresh, who basically like has no connection with who she's based off of, through the engineered, as you pointed out, sort of like, I don't want to say psychopathic because I'm not like I'm not trained in any way to make that, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I'm not saying you're wrong, and I think that's like, at least as a layman, that's the appropriate word, right? But I just want to put this out there, like, the trained sort of insanity, like they cultured, like they might not be creative, but like they basically made a digital petri dish.
Yeah, that's more or less. And the other ones were resistant to.
Yeah, and this one was like, no, like fuck it, shut them up.
Yeah,
if that's what it takes.
0.001% of the Maya Sundareshes.
Well, and it goes back to, you know, and if exos are based on the Vex, it goes back to my original multiple man theory with exos. Like, they just kept making Maya Sundaresh until they got one who was fed up with their shit, with her own shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And so the idea that you have an agent, Maya Sundaresh is creative. Maya Sundaresh does think outside the box. Maya Sundaresh can glean insight from what you do without having to simulate you. So the idea that they've come up with an agent who can do that they've, I mean, if we're right here, that they've been able to apply to multiple species that have tapped into their network or tried to abuse their technology, I mean, that's fucking genius. I mean, I actually sort of wonder at this point if maybe she had a hand in why Skolas actually failed more than we did. Because you gotta feel like, for all intents and purposes, once he opened that gate, it should have been game over.
Yeah. More or less. Although, I guess the Vex have done similar things. I think there's just limitations on how many units you can bring through at a time. To that, or to that effect. But yeah, that's kind of here nor there, I guess, to this argument.
Oh, it's everywhere, my friend. It is everywhere. No, I think that does make a big difference, because it's, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to be poetic. Well, but I'm not trying to be poetic about this. There's creativity in destruction.
Sure.
And if they're sending her out there to fuck up other people's plans, honestly, who better than, like, for all we know, the first person to honestly figure the Vex out?
Yeah, pretty much.
I really love that they kept the name. It's so, like, computer, though. Like, if this is right, it's so robotic, like, MSund12 of thousands. It was the 12th one who was like, you know what? How about we all shut the fuck up?
And I guess we should bring up that we don't know if MSund12 is the designation of, like, the 227 that was the original designations, or however you want to refer to all the 227 original copies that
that went into the
went
back into the Vex network.
Pretty much, yeah. Or if MSund12 here is to at least in regards to this theory, the Maya Sundaresh Terminator that was petri dished by the Vex.
Well, so it could be a 12 of the thousands that like rose to that crop, or it could be like 12. Yeah, it depends on how the Vex save that file. Right. I do think though, like, so for what it's worth, me saying this is the same save file, it doesn't necessarily mean that the one that, you know, is whispering to Clovis as he's about to, like, finally become an exo, it doesn't mean that that's the same one. That like, the memories of that carry over to the MSund12, rather, I should say.
Totally fair.
That messed up Oxa. I think that is the same save file.
Like the original base.
Yeah, for sure. Or like that is like, I strongly think the theory has a lot of legs if we go that route, or like at least allow for that.
Sure.
As opposed to like whether they're one for one. Well, we don't know a lot about what was going on with Oxa, so unless there's references to what happened before. Now, I will say I think there's a lot of room for, you know, timeline of events, it being like the same one, because I don't see why, once the Vex started sort of like building little like radiolaria influencing like nodes on Clovis's bones, that they couldn't have, like, if you can transmit to it, you can pull data from it, can't you? If it's a method of transference that you control. Sure. And so I figure maybe they could pull her back. That's completely reasonable to me. But I figure that happens before Oxa. Even though, like, timelines are so crazy. Yeah. Like, honestly, like, Varix was alive before the Whirlwind? How fucking old is Varix?
He's an old fogey.
How fucking old is Varix? How fucking old are these people that remember the Great Machine?
Though Aramis is, I think, similarly old, as is Tannix. I think they're all
fucking old. It's the dregs that we murder by the thousands that are new.
Right?
No, but this really bothers me, actually. Like, I kind of want to know how old they are, and I would really love if Spider was like a youngling. Like, he was born in transition. Like, he didn't really remember the world before. That's why he's so fucking cutthroat.
And that makes a lot of sense to me, because you're raised in a certain background, you're going to have significantly different course of actions that you're going to take as an adult. And
this is why Bagelz is a great D&D player, everyone.
What?
I've enjoyed all of your characters, and you've done a great job, I think, in D&D, because you recognize how character background can affect a person's actions.
I did not understand the psychotic.
Yeah. Apparently that was a leap, but I hope I connected everyone's dots right there.
I think we got to know.
You sure?
I think so.
No. But all right, so one thing I love about this is, as far as on behalf of the Vex, even if it's not the same one, like literally, like maybe it's a different file, maybe they deploy them differently, they do the same sort of I'm gonna call it like Vex butter method. They churn the butter, and the butter, you know, it rises to the top.
Okay, sure.
Separate the whey from, you know, the wheat from yeah. All right. It's been Maya Sundaresh both times, even if it's not the same one.
Sure, and I can completely see that. They, like you said earlier, they can have a save state of this MSund12 clone that they just essentially pull out when they think they need it, and then they deploy it wherever it needs to be.
Would you say it's their executable? When they need to stop someone utilizing the
Did you just put on sunglasses there and deploy a background?
I did, but that's the most we can say. without having to pay a band that I don't feel like having to potentially pay. Not that we monetize this. I realize I make this joke, and there's probably some legal fan out there who's like, "You're a fucking dumbass, Taylor B. You could do this. It's called satire, and you're protected." And I just want to put out there, man, like, I appreciate that, but, like, better safe than sorry, huh? Like, I feel like you'd agree with that imaginary friend I just invented. But yeah, no, another thing I really like about it is it kind of interconnects other parts of this season that are going on, because kind of in the background, you have Callus has fled, Warren's barge was, like, straight up scuttled and abandoned. And Callus has fled because his daughter has sent a message, started pulling rank with all the remnants of the Red Legion to basically welcoming them back to the Empire, the proper Empire that she now rules. And saying, you know, part of what you can do to ingratiate yourselves back in my good graces is to give me Callus's head. Now, the reason I say this is a fun interconnection is that's happening in the background of this season, and this season is the first time we could ever make a connection between the Cabal and Clovis Bray.
Sure.
If this is true. I'll put that asterisk on it. And so if we can now connect the Cabal and Clovis Bray, we have, I mean, like, not to be fucking It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but, like, there's a lot of, like, red strings connected on these Post-it notes right now. But I guess I have the fucking show to say that shit. But there's a lot of interconnected stuff right now, and I think, you know, as Destiny, you know, I think Bungie is going beyond their 10-year plan, but I think as we, in the years going forward here, I think what we're starting to look at is maybe the beginning of the rising action. And so
can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, all right, so every story has a climax. And the climax doesn't happen in the middle of the story. The climax happens towards the end. And
so we're building towards something, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we're in that midpoint that starts to build towards the climax. And I think this is one of, not the only, one of the ways that everything is going to start to tie together. And I mean, there might be some loose threads with things that were retconned from the first game, maybe left out of the official lore books, especially from the cards. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. I don't mean to say, like, it's going to be a perfect bow, but I think this is one of those like plot points that seem minor now that start to bring the greater conflict to a head. Because now we have Clovis Bray. That's his official name on the Spinfoil Theory podcast. Clovis Bray. We have, and I mean, like, especially, like, so we've started to bring, I think Dead Orbit has been featured a lot in D2 tangentially. I want to start seeing some of these other factions coming forward, and, like, you know, part of that is Future War Cult. There's a lot of hints between the Ishtar Collective and Future War Cult, and if these other connections are being made, if this turns out to be true, I think there's a lot of room for them, like Lakshmi 2, which, oh my god, I can't wait. I would really love for them to get Lakshmi 2 back on the forefront. I love the voice actor.
Right?
Yes.
She's phenomenal.
She's so good. And I bet they're probably like, oh, it's so hard to get her. Like, make time for it, Bungie. She is worth it.
They really do need to address the factions. I don't know when. I feel like they're going to do it, but I don't know when. And I'm amped for when that actually happens, because there's going to be something
so
big about that.
Can I give you my 2 cents on that?
Sure.
I think the fact that they've fallen off after, if you look in the D2 up until now has been called the period of loss, or like the time of loss.
Yep.
Yeah. We're past that now. I think we're going to start to see them again. I think that's why they fell off, is, when everyone has a common enemy, it's easy to band together. And I think it kind of makes sense given the hardship that the last cities had, given the Red War and everything else that's happened subsequently, that they haven't come back yet.
I see where we're kind of going with that. They could easily factor, like, if the Dark Guardians start arising due to corruption by using stasis, or
yep. Now that things are starting to like look up, especially if we start to push back the darkness, I could see. Ooh, and I mean, like, remember Lysander? I do.
Oh my god. That would be a ridiculous...
Dude, I'm saying we haven't done it yet, but I still want to do Sympathy... Did we do Sympathy for Lysander?
We did do Sympathy for Lysander.
We did?
Yep.
Do we have to do a Sympathy for Lysander Part 2, Electric Boogaloo?
I think so at some point.
I feel like he's got to come back, because, like, honestly, I feel like everything I was saying before is only, like... It's only made me wonder more as time has gone on and nothing has changed in that storyline.
We've got no additional information outside of one just passerby reference to Lysander.
Well, we know he's not dead, which is, like, awesome. Well, no, like, good or bad. I don't want him to just, like, be dead off screen. Sure. Like, yeah, I want to know what happened.
Like, casually write him out of the story, sort of thing. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, like, that would be a dick move, in my view. We wrote about this dude for 9 years, and then you finally find him. Yeah, nah, he's been dead for, like, 3 years. And he's long gone. What about his friends? Like, nope, no friends. Just gone. Like, completely over with. Don't have to worry about that. Because honestly, like, I feel like, yes, they had a problem with Osiris, and maybe that was the wrong move to make, but Osiris also got exiled from the city, so I'm wondering what the real politics were there. Because if they moved on Lysander and the Concordat because he was talking shit about Osiris, but then they also exiled Osiris, what the fuck really happened?
Yeah, we don't really know.
Oh, I know we don't really know. I'm trying to know what we don't know.
I don't know. There's a lot of
I know you don't know. I don't know.
There's a lot of propaganda from that time period, and as always, it's really hard to sift through that, especially without any primary sources. All the sources we've gotten on that have been like tangential, third time removed. This is what happened, sort of history stories. There's been nothing that's been from that time period on Lysander. So just trying to even establish what he did, what he didn't do, what he was saying, all those things are just completely outside of the realm of knowledge for the player base right now. I don't know.
No, I mean, I guess that's why I bring it up. It's because I'm kind of like, I'm trying to find out about this stuff, and it's got me like wondering about all these things that could tangentially be related.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got me connecting little red pieces of string.
Right now, instead of Savathun, everything, it's all MSund12!
Yo. So, alright. MSund12, I mean, honestly, because I feel like that optional recording at the finishing of that, as opposed to Atsat, it's been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
Since the Red War. And only now, and I'm like, holy shit, MSund12. Because before I was like, oh, Maya Sundaresh? Weird. Why did she give herself, like, a cheeky internet name from AOL? That's funny. Maybe that was just like, maybe they were 11 under Myers MSunds before she created her account. That's fine. And now looking at this, knowing that there's literally an agent of the Vex that is a Maya Sundaresh, and I honestly, like, what really gets me about this Maya Sundaresh is I wonder how they generated her. Because this seems to be the only one who wasn't crying out for Shioma.
Yeah, most of them were crying out for Mom or Shioma.
Yeah, and this one was like, just shut the fuck up. Why? Have you tried shutting the fuck up?
Just want the silence. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, well, she got it.
She got it, alright.
Yeah. That's gotta be such a weird place. It reminds me of... do you remember that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Where he gets cloned? Because they, like, basically there's illegal cloning happening in this universe that Arnold Schwarzenegger exists in. I can't remember the name of the film, so forgive me, fans. And
I think I've seen part of it.
Yeah.
But,
so he gets cloned accidentally. They basically they like trick him into doing the thing that copies your brain.
Sure.
And he gets cloned. They think he's dead, but he survives, and then he like goes home, but then like he's already there, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And it's a whole thing. But basically, it reminds me of this version of Clovis Bray, where like the real body can act after it's been copied, potentially, if the process isn't fatal. Which I think in Aramis' case was such. I think she was copied, and then we killed her, and then in the raid you fight the copy that was made.
Are you referring to Artrax?
Nah, Aramis, right? You fight Aramis at the end?
No, Tannix. Tannix is the final boss.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, mind blown. I thought Aramis was going to be in there at some point.
I thought so too. I fully expected Aramis to be the final boss.
I guess they were going to ramp it up, and then she couldn't do it, or maybe they made a copy and they could never just like put her out there. Because it sounded like that was going to happen, right?
That's entirely the impression that the campaign gives you, but I firmly think that we haven't seen the last of Aramis. I think just like Shadowkeep, there's going to be an involving story element.
What about
to it.
second raid?
We just finished first raid.
I don't think they have second raid where they come from.
But I definitely think that Aramis will come around again. I
totally figured they made a copy of her.
Yeah,
because even Artax wasn't dead.
The only thing about a copy, yeah, it's hard to know exactly because.
Well, I say Artax wasn't dead because I got the Hunter helm, everyone, which is the Mask of Braxis, but it's really Artax's skull. If you read it, spoiler. And he sees himself still alive. And after he's made an exo, like he sees himself, I think he's in like a sort of like a stasis, like a breakdown. And apparently Phylax predicted this would happen.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, Phylax is the one we fight in the Vex, basically in the Vexineti. So if he had access at all to that stuff, like I could see him figuring it out. But anyway.
Huh.
Yeah, that is Artax's skull, like ripped off by Exo Artax 1. And made into a mask so that he knew it wasn't him.
I will say this about Artax. From what we know about
every time I hear Artax, I think of fucking Never-Ending Story. It's spelled differently, and I think there's an R in there that I'm not pronouncing, but I always think of the fucking horse from Never-Ending Story.
I've only seen it once. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I bet you were traumatized by the horse. Alright, for anyone who is traumatized by the horse, and I'm drumming up bad memories right now, at the end of the movie, the horse is fine. Artax is fine. No, he drowns in the sadness, but at the end, Atreyu is riding Artax again. So Artax is fine at the end of the movie. Just want to put that out there. Just be happy he was okay. The horse is fine. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bagel. Sorry.
No. I just want to point out that there is like a period where you're still technically alive, even after the fatal process starts to do that final scan. So it is possible that it was like right after that process had finished that his former self he ripped the skull off of. I don't know. I haven't read the specific lore card yet, so I don't know the exact.
I'm wondering how good they are at doing it and how much progressed by the time Clovis did it, because at least in our timeline, the first Elsie one,
mm-hmm.
her body was dead.
Correct.
And she had it sent basically like buried like very deep within Europa.
Yeah.
So that's where our timeline's Elsie Bray's human body is like
mm-hmm.
deep within Europa.
Mm-hmm.
And then that first Elsie one was kind of weird. Like it didn't have a mouth. Like it was very different than the stranger that we know.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up getting destroyed. But it's really weird for me to read all that and then juxtapose it to Clovis. Like, our Clovis lived through all that, shooting down the stranger, but he, like, and I know, I'm sorry, Bagels, I guess you haven't been there yet. If you complete the different aspects of darkness, you get the last aspect now that the raid's been released and you've been doing it up till now, like at the time of this recording, you get a little scene between the Clovis Bray Eye, Anna Bray the Guardian, and Elsie Bray from the Tangential Timeline, where everyone kind of like started using the darkness and succumbed to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem surprised by any of this shit.
Yeah.
I know you haven't seen the scene, and I'm really sorry to like kind of put you on the spot there, but like when you see it, like
you just okay. I kind of see what you're
like. He's talking. Towards. He's like. It's the Clovis Bray Eye, so it's the AI Clovis Bray like uploaded. It's not the same thing as Banshee, right? Spoiler alert. It's not the same thing as the EXO upload, specifically. So I'm willing to cut that, but like,
yes.
He's not fucking surprised. This same Clovis Bray Eye that before he was uploaded murdered the original LC1, and like at the end of that, he does say he's going to make another LC1, and maybe that one gets made differently. Maybe that's the one that we like is like the stranger we know, has like a mouth and stuff.
Entirely possible, and I think there was a lot of evolution between.
I'm sure.
In how even the lore book or the Clovis's journal that we read. It certainly alludes to the evolution of the Exos kind of in that same time period where he was figuring out that you needed to add human characteristics to the Exos in order to make them not as likely to succumb to DER. So certainly that timeline seems to match up, at least in my head, that he would have stuck her in a more human Exo frame following the initial LC1's death. Or destruction. However you want to put that.
Well, it's just that he's not surprised to speak to an Exo stranger.
Sure.
And I know in the journal, and we'll go over this in the journal episode, I swear to God, fans. He refers to Elsie's deviation from their relationship as an exo. As the stranger, but like, and to everyone, I want to put this out there, I'll be the first one. To everyone who's like, yo, like, exo stranger, thick, like, yo, you guys... Use guys. She is a special exo body. One of the dead exos you find is actually like super jelly. No, it's another it's a woman recording it, and I'm just saying, like, what she's mad about is the frame that she's given is sort of like a gender neutral, maybe like a male frame. So like the center of balance is all off. She doesn't feel natural when she walks. And they're like, and she's like, but Elsie Bray got one. They're like, oh, you're jealous of Elsie Bray? She's like, what the fuck if I am? That's closer to, like, what she's got is closer to what she had. Like, I'm supposed to, like, be, you know what I mean? Like, and it was like, at the end of the day, that's a totally reasonable argument. Like, I feel like, you know what I mean?
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was just a fun... Because everyone's like, Elsie Bray thick. Like, Elsie Bray this. And, like, Elsie Bray fit. I don't know if Elsie Bray thick. She very fit. Very svelte.
Entirely fair. Yeah,
But, like, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, there could be thicker robots out there. Like,
I mean, if you've looked at Artax, she's pretty thick.
I thought Artrax was a dude.
No, I'm pretty sure it's she.
No, Praxis is a she.
I don't know. I'd have to double check, to be honest. But I was thinking.
I thought Artrax was a dude. Yeah. Crigis is a girl. Is a lady. Is a female. Is a woman. Female.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd have to double. But
it's so weird talking about fictitious alien species. I'm trying not to be a jerk.
But
like I'm at like a little bit of like an admitted loss right now. Like, sorry everyone. I'm like trying my best. But yeah. Okay. So let's move into... I'm ready to move into to final thoughts here, I think.
Sure, absolutely.
Bagelz, how do you score this, my friend?
I'm gonna give it a 12. I think that seems appropriate. It's certainly plausible. It basically, I like the idea of the Vex essentially activating like a sleeper wherever they see appropriate that they can't otherwise respond themselves. Either their units are impractical or would incite a combative fight from whoever is present. The concerns I have are that we don't know which Sundaresh actually was captured, so we don't know if it was the 12th iteration or if it was the 200 iteration that was.
Oh yeah, the naming could go either way, right? Like, is what I think you're saying. Like, it could be, it could be this was the 12th of the 1,000 that they subsequently generated, or it could be like the original file name, right?
And I guess what I'm leading into that is we don't necessarily know that the MSund12, the Sundaresh iteration that accessed the Axa device was a Vex sleeper agent in that sense. It could have been an actual legitimate Sundaresh in the Vex network accessing the device and then logging out, essentially. Something like that. They found a way into it and as a result logged in and attempted to use it for her own purposes. That's still an entirely legitimate thought process as well. So, at this point, we just don't have enough information to make it conclusive, but it's certainly very plausible that this is the Terminator Sundaresh that we see the Clovis Journal. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, thank you for that. No, I agree with most of that. I give it 12 I give it MSund12 of plausibility.
I guess that's what I was going for, but
I know. I just wanted to like kind of copy you, but a little more clearly in case anyone who's listening didn't get it. Not to one up you, I'm sure. But yeah. I think all the pieces are there. Especially every time I've run that strike since the raid, I've only gotten that dialogue. I haven't gotten Odzot. I'm sure that could be a flip of the coin. I'm not saying that's anything. It just really put it to the forefront of my mind for this, as I guess what I'm really going for there. And it got me thinking about it. I really think there's a lot of legs to this. I really think, I feel like we always touch upon this. When we look at real life plausibility, yes, it could be like an infinitude of things, but we're looking at a collaborative narrative, and I don't think they would have put that in there for a reason. I feel like this is one of those super fucking cool things that finally ties together with other pieces of lore, and it crosses together different factions that we didn't know could be interrelated, which is really fucking cool, even if it's a little tangentially. Which is really exciting for me. So I give it MSund12's probability. Yeah, dude, you got any shout outs? I feel like you got to shout out the Day One team.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was gonna. Yeah, shout out to the Day One Rady boys. We are going to shout out Create, Bladed, Anubis, Ahop. Let's see. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Shit. Don't kill me. I am drawing in the blank.
Oh man.
I feel bad now.
Ahop?
I said Ahop for sure. I think, didn't I?
Tim?
No, Tim. He's running tonight.
He's going with me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Tim, I'm gonna shout you out now. Was it all Ghost, but Anubis?
Panda. Panda was the other one.
Panda was the other
only Pans.
non-Ghost?
And myself, yes.
Oh, man.
So, sorry about that, Panda. I didn't mean to forget about you.
Well, you remembered eventually, and we are happy to carry your clan anytime you guys need it. Whatever your clan name is, I'm not going to call you guys out. It's not that I forgot. I actually know what your clan name is, but I'm not going to be a jerk on my show. I'm just going to make my little cheeky joke.
But, yeah, no, raid is fantastic, guys. Go ahead and get out there and do it. If you're looking for a raiding buddy, don't be afraid to shout out to us.
Yeah.
I'm really getting a kick out of it. We're doing some Sherpas today, right now. Actually, we're doing one, including Taylor here, in about half an hour. So, looking forward to that.
See, guys. Seriously, take Bagels up on it. He needs to fucking nut up or shut up about having a secret Twitter so that you guys can finally add him. That's my call out to you right now, TheBagelz. But aside from that, guys, I can't mirror what he said enough. Please add us. You really don't understand how great an LFG or an Sherpa TheBagelz is. I'm shite. If I show up, it's mostly for color commentary, and I can do a simple role that we don't want to give to you because it's less fun. I say that all jokingly. You're allowed to gig at that too, Bagels. Anyway. All I'm saying is, like, you could do so much worse, and the likelihood of you doing better is fucking abysmal. Like, TheBagelz is a top tier class Sherpa. I actually have a Sherpa fucking emblem because I've run with TheBagelz for so long. This guy's fucking amazing. I've never had anyone explain any encounter better than him, and whenever I need to take a friend through something, he shows up like a fucking gangster and takes us through like it was butter. So yeah, like he's not fucking kidding is all I'm trying to get at. All that said,
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
it means quite a bit, Taylor.
Yeah, no worries, dude. Like you hit up the temp chat and you get on the Bags team. Like, you're getting through some shit. Like, you like, what is it? We're not clan obtained, but that's because that name was taken.
Oh my god.
But anyhow. I want to give a shout out to all the people here in DC working through Corona and working through testing. We've had some spikes here, and I know it's been rough on a lot of households. So for my, I guess, like, local shout out, I know we're not the only city going through it, but that's my local, like, hitting me right now shout out. Just because otherwise, game wise, I'd be giving all the same shout outs Bagels did. That's why I feel free to do that, not to one up him in any way, and that's not a joke. Yeah. But yeah, game wise, shout out to the Bags team. You guys fucking rock that shit. Congratulations on the day one. I know there's a lot of controversy going on the day one stuff right now. I hope you guys are just riding high with your accomplishment. Like, you really earned it. Like honestly, like there's a lot of people out there who, like, were preparing for weeks and, like, had to, like, come to grips that they couldn't do it. And it can be tough, like, especially when, a lot of, performing in Destiny is your bread and butter. And, that's no fault of theirs. That's luck of the draw sometimes, I feel like. Sometimes it just doesn't, things fall apart. The people who didn't make it, myself included, on day one, we're still valid. We're still great players. But, like, congratulations to people like the Bags and the Bags team.
Thank you.
Yeah, like, no, like, it's how to say, like, I feel bad I didn't get it too, but I'm still really fucking jazzed that people did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I hope I'm making an appropriate middle ground there, but, like, that's...
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, that's what I got. And with that, everyone, please stay safe. We'll see you next week. We've really appreciated you putting up with us, getting this out late with the new content drop.
Basically, I was dead yesterday, and so we decided to delay a day. Basically, what it boils down to.
My man needed some sleep.
I did need the sleep. It was pretty rough.
he earned it though. And with that, everyone, like, we love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. That's the end of this week's topic, but be sure to check out our past and future episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. If you have any questions about this week's topic, want to discuss Destiny lore with us, or if you just feel like reaching out to us, you can find us on Twitter at Spinfoil Theory, or you can email us via spinfoiltheory@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.